Hi, welcome back. Long time no see. Listen, I'm gonna go ahead and apologize. This video should have been out to you all like months ago, but I literally have not had like the time to sit down and do like a recording rambling video like this is supposed to be. So because of that, it's been a hot minute. I'm gonna do a quick recap on what exactly was in this series before fully getting into this video, because I'm also in the process of rearranging playlists. So hopefully things are a little bit more organized and make a little bit more sense for in the future. Awesome. If you remember back in August and September, I had a bunch of yearlings that I introduced you all to because we were going to be taking them to the Kingland Thoroughbred yearling sale, right? And so I introduced you all to them, and I kind of just went about kind of what I thought they may or may not sell for, what I thought about them. And then I also did another video talking about just how their routine is, what we do to get them ready for the sale, and just things of that nature. This video specifically is going to kind of be just like a little information dump before I actually take you to the sale. So I'm going to talk about like the sales that we have, kind of the process of what we like, why we choose certain horses to go to certain sales, just kind of the expectation and all the things that we do going into it before actually heading to the sale. I will also go ahead and say, goodness, big shake. I will go ahead and say, I definitely felt like my September like vlog video, it was supposed to be kind of like a vlog. I wanted to do like a daily check-in with how everything was going, but it was so chaotic, and I don't know. I didn't do a great job of like staying on top of like recording. That being said, I did a lot better. In November. So the September video is definitely kind of a rough draft, but hopefully the November sales is definitely a little bit better. And ideally, and happily ever after land, next year when we get back to the sales, it will be even better. So hopefully we'll just keep on trucking from there. So yeah. But yeah, I'm basically gonna break down just kind of info dump for you all. Then the next video will be actually at the sale, and then I'll do kind of a wrap up for the September sale, and then introduce you all to the November sale horses, because that's already also passed. It's almost January. Take you to the November sale, do a wrap up on that sale, and then we're in the clear, and then we're all caught up. It's just been chaotic, to say the least. To start off with, for those of you who did not know, I definitely feel like the majority of our racehorses are sold and or purchased through auctions. Yes, private sales are definitely a thing, but I definitely feel like it's majority, like heavy majority is through auctions. And I often feel like some people hear the word auction and their brain goes to like worst case scenario. They think of like the shady ones where you have blind horses, crippled horses, skinny horses, people are like lying, the kill buyers and things of that nature. That is not what these auctions are. In fact, we actually have a bare minimum bid of $1,000 specifically to kind of keep the more sketchy kill buyer people away. But we have regulations, rules. They literally will read off like several pages of rules, regulations, standards before we even start for the day. And they do it every single day just to cover their butt. People can very easily do lawsuits and things if something goes awry. Like these are definitely nicer auctions, and other breeds and disciplines do have auctions like this. I feel like they just don't necessarily get as much attention. The quarter horse world absolutely has some. I've seen quite a few of them. The show jumpers had one fairly recently. So yeah, they definitely are out there. They definitely exist. This is not like a sketchy little backyard auction. This is definitely like a professional, formal, nice type thing that like we spend a lot of time and money getting ready for. Now, I'm mainly going to be focusing on like my kind of small area and like the sales around us, but there is pretty much going to be a sale every month, like all around the world. Specifically for us in our kind of like calendar season for when and what we are selling things. Where am I going to start? We'll start in November. So in November, there are 2 November sales for us, and these will have mares, weanlings, racehorse prospects, stallion prospects, broodmare prospects. You kind of have a whole lot of selection for the November sales, and we have 2. We have a select sale, and anytime I say a select sales horses have to be pre-approved. So these are horses that are considered standouts, They have decent pedigree, like they have good pedigrees, strong pedigrees. They are strong conformation. They are just overall considered a little bit more like standout individuals. They have to be pre-approved to enter a select sale. And then the other sales that are not select sales, pretty much anyone can enter, right? If you have a horse that fits what the sale is selling at that moment, you can enter them. Some sales will do everything alphabetically, and other sales, which I will get into the book system a little bit more, but they will have a book system, and they will basically put the best of the best in the first book, and then they'll tamper on down throughout the books. I'll get a little bit more into that system later. So anyway, November, we have those. Same thing in December. Well, no. December we don't really have like a public auction, at least around me. We do have a digital sale. But December is kind of like our break month in this area. There is December sales, just not here. January is our next one. Again, mares, yearlings, like freshly turned yearlings, racehorse prospects, broodmare prospects, stallion prospects. Then we have February, same thing. And then March, April, May, June is kind of 2-year-old season. So that's when 2-year-olds and horses of racing age will be for sale. Those will mainly be happening in like Florida. We have 1 or 2 here in Kentucky, Maryland, things of that nature. So it's more a little bit around us. Admittedly, we don't do that. We, like me personally, do not do 2-year-old sales just because that's not my cup of tea. I don't really have anything for those specific sales. And then we're going to get to July. July is going to be our first yearling sale. And it is a select sale. So it is one that like you have to pre-enter or, be pre-approved to get into. So we'll have the July sale. There's another select sale up in August up in New York. And then we have the big September sale where, any type of yearling. It's definitely the biggest yearling sale around. Again, it's all yearlings. October is another yearling sale, all yearlings that any yearling can go to. And then we're back to November, which is mare's babies. So we have like a nice little cycle. December is kind of our break month. There is a December sale somewhere that is not near me. But we do have a big digital sale that is also what happens. The digital sales have definitely gotten more popular since COVID. And there's pretty much one almost every month. Sometimes there'll be like 10, 20 horses in there. The December sale, there was like 600. I was like, good Lord. So yeah, so digital sales have definitely kind of been a newer thing that has been introduced like since COVID, but it's still definitely the majority is still auction styled. So obviously we have all these sales. How exactly, like if we're going to sell a horse, how do we pick what sale to go to? We're going to go ahead and start with mares because they tend to be the easiest to knock out of the way. Obviously, we have the opportunity to sell mares publicly basically from November through February. November, the select sale, again, you have to be, like, you really have to have, like, a top mare. That sale is very hard to get into. The big November sale over at Kingland is a pretty decent spot. However, it is a really big sale, so you do occasionally run the risk of there's being so many horses there, your horse might get lost in the crowd. So if you have a decent mare that is like you think will be okay and will be enough of a standout that she's not going to get lost in the crowd, that's a decent sale to go to. If you have one that you think could be a standout in a smaller crowd, then you're better off going to the potential. Although I will say the January sale has definitely improved a lot in the last couple of years, but the January sale is an option because there's not as many horses as there's going to be in the November sale. It's a new year, and so some people are coming in like, oh, I have extra seasons, or I saw this new stallion that I really liked and I didn't buy a mare in November. I'm gonna go on and try and buy one in January so I can breed to him. So the January sale is an option. And then the February sale is another sale where, again, if you have kind of a cheaper mare, it's typically the sale you kind of aim for just because it's a smaller picking, and so it's easier to be a standout in that. So yeah, and also it kind of has to do like when you bred your mare. Is she pregnant? Is she empty? What's her history? There's kind of a lot of other factors because you don't really want to take a mare due in February, March to the February sale. So it's smarter to either sell them in January or November. So those are a couple key factors. And like why we would sell a mare can be for a number of different reasons. Maybe this is a mare that just didn't fit our program for whatever reason, and just because she doesn't fit our program doesn't mean she won't fit someone else's program, right? Maybe she's a mare that we just have had bad luck with, and sometimes honestly when you move them along they have great luck with the next person. Or maybe she was something that we had bought specifically just to breed and then resell. There could just be, or times are tough and you have to sell something in order to keep something else. There could be a variety of reasons on why we choose to sell. So who do we got next? The babies. So the babies and yearlings, you kind of play a fun game of, you have to put on your imaginary future seeing goggles and kind of guess. There are some people who will only sell their babies as babies, and their babies, they'll only sell them as weanlings. There are some people who will only sell them as yearlings. They just have their preference to whatever they like to do. I personally play the fun game of doing the seeing future thing. If I have a really, really beautiful baby, it is typically smarter to sell the beautiful baby now instead of risking them turning into an ugly duckling down the road. Because there are some babies, like, horses are horses. They all mature differently. They go through wonky stages. I've had some babies, beautiful, magnificent, and like you kind of get that hope, like, oh, they're gonna be beautiful as a yearling, and some of them do stay beautiful as a yearling, and then others turn into the biggest, ugliest goose, and you're just like, what happened? You were beautiful 4 months ago. What happened? It's so it is a risk you take, but it also happens the opposite way, where you'll have a really ugly baby and then they blossom into something beautiful, or you have them where they just stay the same. With the baby yearling situation, we do also play the fun game of the seeing eyeglasses things with the stallions. I've kind of talked about it a little bit before. There are some stallions that are already proven, right? Like they've already bred plenty of horses. They've had plenty of children. They are known to produce winners. They are known to produce greatest stakes horses. They are known to produce champions. Those horses, you don't typically have to worry as much about, oh, are they going to make it? Because they've already made it. But there are some horses that, like, their first years, so these are the very first babies on the ground, or they have 2 or 3 year olds just hitting the track. And so we kind of have an idea of, hey, are they running yet or not? Are they going to make it? Are they going to produce race horses? Are they not going to produce race horses? So you have that fun little guessing game of, is that stallion who's not necessarily proven, are they going to hit big as your baby and or yearling is going to hit the sale? And so sometimes we do play that fun game. We call it on the bobble, when a horse is kind of about to find out whether or not they're going to make it or not. Sometimes it's smarter to sell a weanling on the bobble rather than a yearling, because you kind of run the risk of, ooh, he might not pan out. And if you hold on to that baby for that extra year and that stallion ends up not doing very well, your potential $10,000 baby suddenly becomes like a $2,000 yearling. So that's always something. Or you have a baby that, like, the stallion isn't doing very well, and you have this this really, really nice baby that you're thinking, I might get $5,000 for, and sometimes if you hold out that extra year, all of a sudden the stallion will spike in popularity, and I could have gotten $5,000 as a baby turns into $25,000 as a yearling. So it is literally a just constant guessing game, really, and we just kind of wing it. Like, we have an idea of what we are expecting. We kind of look at all of our horses, take into consideration all these things, and kind of figure out what gamble is worth it. Is it worth selling them as babies? Is it worth selling them as yearlings? Some people will also take the risk and do 2-year-olds. I typically don't mess the 2-year-old game. That's a whole different thing. So yeah, really, it's a lot of guessing. And sometimes there's some people who, like, they only sell babies and that's the way they've always done it and that works great for them. Or they only sell yearlings. Like, I used to have a client who only ever sold yearlings. They would have some beautiful babies sometimes and I'd be like, you should sell this one as a baby. And they'd be like, no, we're gonna wait till the yearling year. I'm like, okay. That being said, not everybody sells. We have another client who they have like 20 something babies every year, and they do not sell a single one. Okay, they keep every single one of their kids for racing. That being said, every single year they do buy about 5 really good mares out of the sale. I have another client that does a bit of both. So what he'll do is he will keep some of them and he will sell some of them. He kind of just goes through and he kind of just picks. He goes, I really like this horse. I want to keep this one, or I like this one. I think this is going to be a really good sale horse. And he just kind of plays it by ear. Me personally, how I end up doing mine is the worst way possible. I kind of pick my favorite of my group, and I kind of put like a number for what I think that horse is worth, and I might bump it up a little bit extra. And if they give me the extra money, then I have sold the horse. But if they don't, then I keep the horse. And then I sell typically everything else. So for example, this year, how many babies did I take to the sale this year that were mine? I took 3. So I took 3 yearlings to the sale this year. I had a Golden Sense, a Temps d'Etat, and an Army Mule. And my plan from the beginning was I was going to put a decent little price tag on the Army Mule because I really loved him. He was a beautiful horse. And my kind of game plan going in is if they don't give me 50, I'll just take him home. And we definitely thought we were probably going to get anywhere between like 75 to 50 for him. Life happened, and he ended up not having pretty x-rays, and so I ended up just not taking him to the sale at all. That being said, that means my plan for the other 2 changed a little bit, because that means I kind of had to sell them because I already had a racehorse, and I can only afford to have 1 racehorse. So that's kind of how my whole plan with my personal horses went. So obviously, it definitely varies per person. Definitely varies per situation. For me, myself, I know I can only keep 1 racehorse a year. I have some clients who have 20 racehorses a year, and I have some clients who like keep maybe 2 or 3. We all just kind of play it by ear. I had to take a break, water break. My throat was dying. Anyway, I lost my place. I have talked about the sales we have, what sells at what sale. I've talked about why we will sell, and just, things of that nature. Oh, what do we need before going to the sale? So I've kind of already talked about this a little bit. Anything that is a racing prospect, meaning it is a weanling, it is a yearling, it is a racehorse prospect, it is a 2-year-old, they all have to be vetted with x-rays and scope. There is a passing grade for a scope. So for those of you who do not know what a scope is in general, basically it's this long little noodle with a camera, and they're going to put it down their throat and check their airway. And there are different grades on a horse's throat for when they breathe, just judging on how everything like collapses and folds, right? So they do have to pass their scope in order to enter a sale. And we have to provide x-rays of all the major joints. So ankles, knees, hocks, stifles. Now you can take a horse to the sale with not great x-rays. That's kind of up to your discretion. You do have to have a vet sheet that says what is on the x-rays, and the x-rays themselves are there on the grounds so that other vets can look at them. So you do have to pay extra if you want your vet to look at a pair of x-rays, but x-rays can definitely make the decision of whether or not you take a horse out of the sale. Like I took my horse out of the sale because I didn't love his x-rays, right? And I just was like, well, there's nothing there that's actually going to bug him. But honestly, some people do not necessarily know how to read x-rays, and x-rays can definitely affect the price of a horse. That horse specifically went from being a potential $50,000 to $75,000 horse to, with those x-rays, dropped it all the way down to 25, even though there's nothing in those x-rays that would actually affect his race career. A lot of it was just immaturities. So yeah, we have to have x-rays and all that stuff for race horses. Anything that is like a broodmare prospect, or if they're pregnant, they must be checked to make sure, yes, they are actually suitable for mating, or yes, they are pregnant. Any colts have to be checked to make sure that they have either one or both huevos. We do have to announce publicly if we have a cribber. we have to announce public, they can't return it. If you have a horse that you sell and do not mention as a cribber, then they can return it. If someone buys it and it starts cribbing, then congratulations, you get your horse back. We have to announce if there is any issues with vision. What else is there? There's so much stuff that I'm just used to that I like forget. Sometimes I'm always worried that like I forget something in my random ramblings. Anyway, so then also we do also have to enter, when we enter the sale, we do have to pay to actually enter our horses. I think it's about $1,500 per horse, and then they also get commission. Now, if I remember correctly, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I could be off by a little bit, but I'm too lazy to look it up, to be honest. I think it's at 25,000. It's either 20 or 25,000, where they'll start adding a commission price. So if you sell a horse, they'll take a little bit of commission from the price. And so that's kind of how the sale grounds actually also make their money. Like, yes, we pay to enter our horses, but you have to think they also have to pay people to be at these sales. And so they also take a chunk of commission to just, you know, help run everything. Is it 25? I think it's 25,000. I can't remember. It's been a hot minute. We talk about this every year, and then as soon as we go to the next sale, I forget what we talked about, which is fairly standard for me in general. Ugh, my throat is dying. This is the third video I've recorded today. My throat is gone. It is 2 a.m. We are trucking through. Anyway, the book system. So oftentimes, do I have one in here? I do not. Dang it. Anyway, I'll throw a picture up so you all see what I mean. So anytime we do have these sales, we have a book, we have a catalog. And so like I mentioned with the select sales, they'll have books and catalogs, but they typically will go in alphabetical order. It is not always going to start with A. They do rotate what letter they start with so that, you know, it's not like always starting with A, ending with Z. But it is like in alphabetical order to whatever letter they are starting with for that sale. Now, the book system for like the non-select sales, basically, I already mentioned that they have, you know, like let's say book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The best of the best horses are going to be in book 1. These are the horses, because they do come out and look at all the horses in order to kind of gauge what book they should be in. So the book 1 horses are the best horses they have to offer at the sale, both in pedigree and physically. And then book 2, you still have really good horses in book 2, but maybe not necessarily your $7 million horses. So you maybe have more like your $1 million horses. Then when you have book 3, and again, tampers down, so maybe not your $1 million horses, but maybe you're like $500,000, $700,000 horses. Then you have book 4, and it just keeps tampering down a little bit by little. So you do have a wide variety. Like, you can definitely have a book 3 and you can have your $500,000 horse, but you can also still have your $20,000 horse. A lot of it kind of depends on just where you're sitting, how your x-rays turned out, how your horse matured compared to the last time everyone saw him, and just kind of how hot the stallion is at the moment, and if there was any updates to your catalog. Part of our job is to kind of make sure these horses are put in the correct book. Ideally, we want our horses to stand out. So if we have a horse that is maybe lacking slightly in pedigree, but they are really standout conformation wise, and we would say, you know, normally they would be like, you know, book 5, judging by their pedigree, but there's such a standout conformation, you might say, hey, can you put me the last day of book 5, or can you put me the first day of book 6 to help get your horse to stand out a little bit. Or if you have like a horse that they want to put in book 2 because they have a pretty strong pedigree, but you think that the horse is lacking a little bit on physical, you may say, hey, I don't want to be in book 2. Can we be in book 3 instead and be a little bit more of a standout there? So obviously they can veto us on that, but we can put in the request of what we would like to see where our horses be. But yeah, that is definitely kind of part of the game, is just figuring out, again, put on your future sun goggles and guess kind of where you're going to be. Because I think For the September sale, we have to enter our horses in April. So obviously a lot can change from April to September. Now, what does the inside of these books look like? Here is a catalog page for you all. Basically, what you're going to see is the horse. You're going to see their pedigree. You're going to see the stallion highlight. And then you're going to see the female family, okay? Female family for racehorses is definitely what we focus on more than anything. Obviously, we talk a lot of the stallion, but really the female family is what we are actively paying attention to, what we are watching. Ideally, in Happily Ever After land, some of the best horses are only going to see like one horse, like one mare on there. So you'll have the first dam, you'll have the second dam, third dam, fourth dam. Again, Happily Ever After World, Happily Ever After World. Oh my God, it's 2 a.m. and it's showing. Happily Ever After World. You could have a horse that just has the first dam. Like, that's a heck of a page if you have something that's just a first dam or just a first and second dam. It's an indication that there's a lot happening in that female family and it is being very successful. Anytime you see anything with big bold lettering, it's going to be, that is a stakes horse. So for us, our stakes horses are kind of our better horses, right? So those are kind of just more like that officially will earn you black type. That's where the term black type comes from. So anytime we say, oh, that horse is a stakes horse, they have earned black type. It's literally because they are now in big bold print in the catalog is the entire reason that terminology is used. When it comes to broodmares, you will actually have their production record down here so that you can see what they have produced and who they are in foal to. But when it comes to yearlings and weanlings, obviously they haven't produced anything, so it'll just be their family and kind of who and what they are related to. You know, originally I had a list of what I'll just talk about those in bullet points, and I have lost that list because I made that list back in like August. Who knows where the list is gone. But I hope I kind of covered the main gist of kind of just of what all the thought process is going into the sale. Admittedly, a lot of it's just guesswork. Like, some people, yeah, they have what they always do, and a lot of it just kind of depends on what we are kind of planning, because there are some people who, like, they breed but they don't have racehorses. There's some people who have racehorses but they don't breed, so obviously they gotta buy. And it's just, there's a majority of us do a little bit of both. We breed and we have racehorses. It's just kind of a matter of how many racehorses we can have at a time. But yeah, I've already lost my thought. Jesus Christ, I should have done this 2 hours earlier and not at 2 a.m. But yeah, so basically that's kind of just the interest of going before the sales. Like, we have a variety of sales. A lot of it's just guesswork on what we would like to do when we sell. A lot of it, oh, I didn't talk about price point. I almost forgot to talk about this. I can't believe that. Reserves, and how on earth do we figure out what prices we're going to put these horses at? First off, for those of you who do not know what a reserve is a point of, like, we want to reach that goal. So for example, if I have a horse and I want to sell it for $50,000, like, I want bare minimum $50,000, then I will go in and I'll say, hey, I want my reserve to be $49,999. And then they'll know that the goal is to hit $50,000. And so the auctioneers do have this information up there, and so they are able to kind of push, hopefully, in the right direction and hopefully attempt to achieve the reserve. Now, there are two different types of biddings that we can do with the reserve. You can have it so it's live money only. So that means, let's say someone, for example, hits the horse at 35, so they are willing to buy the horse for 35,000. The reserve will kick in, and let's say the reserve kicks in at 37. So reserve hits at 37. They're gonna ask the guy, hey, do you want the horse for 40? And if they say no, I'm good, and no one else bids, that live money only, 37,000 is gonna be what pops up. Or you have it so that they can run it up to the reserve. So let's say that guy decides to stop at 35, the reserve hits it at 37, and no one's really interested in bidding. they will keep going up the reserve up until they hit probably about 45. And then they'll call it quits so that you don't hit the reserve at your 50. But now, later on, once the results kind of pick up and people see that that horse did not sell, the horse was an RNA, reserve not attained, they will see that and be like, hey, this horse RNA'd for 45,000. They're kind of thinking they want the horse in that zone. And so they might have the opportunity to come and ask, hey, we saw that this horse did not sell for 45,000. We are willing to give you 40. We are willing to give you 45. They can haggle a little bit back there. But ideally, in Happily Ever After Land, they try to get it as close to the reserve as possible. Some people are rude and try to cheat you out of it. I had someone one year, we had a horse that we RNA'd for 30. I think it was 30. And he literally came running, chasing us down. He was like, I'll give you 10,000 right now. I was like, that's 20 off the reserve. I was like, you have to get closer to 30. He's like, I only got 10. I'm like, then go look for a horse that RNA'd closer to 10. Don't be chasing down people who are like looking for 30,000. I feel like it's like disrespectful. It's a waste of my time half the time. Anyway, so yeah, so we do have reserves that we can put in order to like, you know, have the horse sell to kind of in the point of what we're looking for. How on earth do we make the decision of what these horses are worth? We have to set the reserves typically the day of sale is when we set the reserves. So we do kind of play it by ear, but ideally we already know what we have when we are heading to the sale. We know what the pedigree looks like. We know what the horse looks conformation wise. We know how the horse walks. So we kind of already have a general price point with those three things in mind before we're heading to the sale. So there's like, I kind of talked about it a little bit with some of the yearlings. We had some yearlings that I was like, this is a horse I think is going to be in like the 50 range. I think it's going to be in like the 100 to 200 range. A lot of that, how I just gather the information is just by looking at pedigree, conformation, and how they walk. And a lot of that, honestly, we could talk about pedigree all day long because honestly, there's so much to it. It's at this point for us, it's just because we're in the industry, we look at it so much every single day. We kind of know what we're looking for, what to expect. And then when it comes to conformation, everyone kind of has their tastes. So there are some people who are looking for certain things, they have certain preferences. And so sometimes I kind of have an idea of what horses, because obviously we know all these guys by now. I kind of know who likes what type of horses. And so I do typically kind of have an idea of what their budget is. And I'm like, yes, this is so-and-so's type of horse. I was like, he has some clients who will like buy in the hundreds. He has some clients who only go up to like 50. He has some clients that only go up to 20. So we kind of have an idea of what some people are willing to spend. And we know kind of who, like, that is their type of horse. Anyway, so we get to the sale and we do these shows. And so basically we have our little table set up with our cards, and people will write down which horse they would like us to see. And we will bring the horses out. We will stand them so that they can watch, and we will walk them down and walk them back however many times needed so that they can see the horse walk and see how the horse is conformation wise. If we have a horse, typically most people are going to see almost every single horse, right? At least once. Then they'll kind of do what we call shortlisting. And so they will come back and look at horses a second time, or they'll send somebody else to go look at a horse a second time if the horse made their short list. So that is a small group of horses that they're like, I really liked this horse individually. I would like to come back and take a second look at them later on. So they'll just have someone go and shortlist them, do a second look. Some people will even do a third look. And then this is typically when we start getting an idea of who likes the horse and who doesn't. And this is also when we kind of get the idea of what type of money may or may not be involved in this horse. Some people will go the extra mile and will actually ask their vet to go look at x-rays, or they'll have their vet come out and jog and flex the horse, or they'll have them do extra x-rays. So they'll x-ray feet sometimes, they'll do tendon scans. This is all stuff that, like, you know, we're kind of mentally noting. We say, hey, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this. And you're typically going to see that type of stuff more on the more expensive horses versus the cheaper horses, because obviously it's a little bit more of a gamble to spend $1 million compared to like $1,000. So yeah, so by that point, by the time on sale day, we kind of have a general idea of who may or may not be interested in the horse, and we typically have an understanding with obviously what we know at the farm, how the pedigree's been, and if there's any new fun little things to add to it, how the horse has been behaving, how the horse has been showing, and just we kind of get a general idea of what we are expecting. And then obviously we have to have the conversation with the owner, because some owners, they can be a little greedy, they get a little excited, they see certain people on the horse and they're like, oh, they got big money. I'm like, no, you have to realize there is a top price for every horse, you know? Like, not every horse is worth $1 million. Not every horse is worth $10,000. So there is a top price that people are going to stop at. It's just a matter of making sure you're not being too greedy about it and finding a happy medium that works for everybody. You know, when I first was getting ready to do this video, I had a nice little cheat sheet with everything I was going to talk about. I've lost that since then, because obviously it's been months. But I think I've covered pretty much everything, goodness, that I was planning on talking about. Because I talked about the sales that we have, what is at what sale, how we kind of make the decision, which is literally just wing it, man. Everyone kind of has their preference of what sale they like to go to. And it's always a matter of, well, what we are kind of planning on doing. What's life doing? I talked about a little bit like what it is to enter the sale. What else is there? I talked about the reserve. I talked about the books, a little bit about the pedigree, how to like look at the pedigree. I think I've covered the majority of what I was planning on talking about. Anyway, if you have any comments, questions, things of that nature, feel free to ask. Hopefully my rambling made sense. It's 2 a.m. I have recorded like 3 videos at this point. I am slap happy. I'm sure my rambling probably lost control at some point. I apologize for that. This should have been out so much sooner. I failed. It's fine. I will get better at this eventually. And if I remember anything, then I'll add it to the next video, hopefully, or I'll do it in the wrap-up video. And if I have like multiple of the same questions or something of that nature. But yeah, so if you have any more comments, questions, things of that nature, we can definitely chat about it. In the next video, I'm actually going to take you through the sale, so you will see in time the process. So you get to see us moving in, you get to see how the shows are gone, you get to see them walk to the ring and how they are in the ring and things of that nature. And we'll talk about what happened afterwards, how off my guesses were or how correct my guesses were. Oh, you know what I was going to talk about? I wasn't specifically going to talk about it in this video, but I will eventually talk about how we look at the walk, because we only buy horses at the walk. So we will literally spend millions of dollars watching a horse walk. And I always have people ask about that, and I keep meaning to kind of break it down. I do have walk videos. That'll be for a different video. I'll see if I can do it either in the wrap-up or this video. I'll do it in the wrap-up, or because I can talk about each horse individually. I'll talk about the walk. Anyway, I think I've rambled enough, and I don't even think my rambling is making sense anymore, and my voice is very slow. Well, it's very quickly going. I feel like I'm losing steam. So, again, I am so sorry that this is delayed. I will do better next time, but now at least the base layer is laid down, and if we have any comments, questions, we can always come back to it, and then next year we will be a little bit more I will be more solid and prepared and on time and more and more organized. I'm never organized. Don't ever let me lie to you like that again. It's a thing. Anyway, until next time.